Welcome to ATI Pro Media. It's Wednesday, March 19th. We've got Brady. He's jumping on the show, but my gosh, yesterday, I think, what did he say? He had 75-degree weather. Now he's without power in a blizzard. But he's jumping on anyway. That's the kind of guy he is. Uh, other than that, I think the main headlines is that applications are open for the Economic Commodity Assistance Program. What are we calling it? ECAP, ECAP, whatever. I don't know the acronym yet, but so that's open. We'll walk you through a few notes there. And then I think we got to look down to South America. Let's look at where Brazil soybean shipments are. Brazil soybean production as well. Brady will update us on some cattle. Then we'll go ahead and get out of here. Brady, I'll quote up the markets, but bring him in first. Let's see his setup here.
There's no power, so I'm just like I got a jump pack that plugging my phone into, and it's crazy. Hey, I got sunburned yesterday. Connor B is 87 degrees in Dodge City, and I wake up today and got a nasty blizzard. That is a photo from yesterday, last night, out there playing with the calves, and then this morning, just
Unbelievable.
nasty. So lots of
And
power outages across the country here this
what's the
morning.
temperature there right now, or is it?
It's really not that bad temp wise. It's actually I think it's probably like 33, 32, just barely freezing, but enough to get some snow, and then the wind is howling and blowing things around and creating a problem.
Oh my gosh. Well,
Yeah,
appreciate you
something.
jumping on anyway. So,
Oh, I can't miss it. And thanks for covering my butt too. So
yeah.
with the
Well,
headlines and everything else.
yeah. Well, I'll go ahead and quote up the markets. I could probably skip it. Talk about looking at the grain market. Not a whole lot of activity. May corn's up a penny and a half. Dees corn almost basically unchanged, down a quarter cent. May soybeans down a penny. November soybeans down 2. Chicago wheat, we got July down a penny. Then let's flip over. We'll quote up KC wheat for Brady. Looking at May KC wheat's down 8, July wheat down 7. Hard spring wheat's up a penny. Looking at the May contract. We'll do hogs. Hogs are down. Live cattle up. Feeder cattle up. Brady's got a good headline that we saw. New record feeder cattle index again. And so going over there, let's just check in soy meal, not doing a whole lot. Looking at nat gas is up, crude oil down, not a whole lot, basically unchanged. And then last, we'll just peek at the NASDAQ real quick. We got the NASDAQ up 140 at 17.6. And then always I like to check in on Bitcoin, not doing a whole lot, up a little bit, just under 85,000. So quick rundown, right? Grain markets, my gosh, we're not doing a whole lot right now, are we?
Corn and beans just seem to be going nowhere, it seems like. But wheat has a story though, Connor B. We've had a nice run on wheat. I think
Mm-hmm.
new crop wheat rallied like 60 cents off the low two
Good
weeks
point.
ago, and we've had a 10-15 cent pullback here. Interesting chart to look at yesterday, looking at new crop wheat out there for KC, kind of topping tail looking chart, little candlestick action there, and down 8 to 10 here today. That's not what we want to see, but I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bitcoin up 85,000. That's a winner, I guess. And
Up a little
NASDAQ
bit,
bouncing
right?
back. So,
I know the Bitcoin bros, right? They thought we were going to go above 100 and just stay there and just keep right on going. So I don't know. Don't ask me on any type of Bitcoin advice, right?
yeah. But if you're ever long or, wrong on a trade, it just turns into a long-term, investment, right? If
There you
it's a
go.
short-term win that doesn't pan out, it turns into a long-term play after that. So,
Exactly. So
yeah.
let's jump in. Probably to me, it's the main headline of the day is that we have got news on that economic aid. Secretary Brooke Rollins announced USDA will provide up to $10 billion in direct aid to farmers through the Emergency Commodity Assistance Program. So I think the key is that enrollment, right? Applications are open. And so, number one? Are we calling it the ECAP? What are the cool kids saying? It ECAP, ECAP.
I don't know, ECAP. I like that.
Well,
That sounds better. It sounds, sophisticated. ECAP sounds, oh, I don't know. I don't like that.
because the trade where we had was it the MFP? Was it the
Yeah,
MFP? My gosh, I
I
can't
think
believe
so.
I forgot that. But
We had the CARES package though, but that one spelled a word. ECAP doesn't spell a word. Not a
all
word
right.
I know in my language.
Yeah. Hey, here so I just grabbed this from USDA website. We can
Okay,
just go through it together. But
nice.
here's the main thing I think you need to look at is that it is enrollment, right? And so review and sign the pre-filled ESAP application mailed to producers who reported acreage of eligible commodities. So then you
Okay,
can do it at your local FSA office. If your local FSA office is the ones that closed recently, you might want to go to option 2 electronically, and then you can
one
email
span. Yep.
and fax it. And so I think we've walked through these before, but just looking at payment limitations, uh,
Hmm.
where you're at, and then this is a good one here. Let me zoom out
Nice.
a little bit. But this is just it just goes commodity per acre, right? What you can
84
expect.
bucks on cotton, 42 on
It,
corn.
it was cotton, it was oats was a big one,
Mhm.
but then looking at soybeans 29, corn right 42.91 whatever.
Mhm.
But yeah, nice little breakdown. Any other questions you can ask, and we can just read it together here. But um, it's got a nice calculator if you want to do that as well. So yeah, cool stuff.
That is cool. Yeah, I'm glad you pulled that in. Yeah.
Yeah. So
What's a big deal getting enrolled and getting some money out? This is a time of year where you start stretching those operating notes, and then there's lots of chatter about where everybody's at with those operating notes. So
yeah.
um, not everybody participated in the rally between the fall and the spring here, and you got to pay bills when they're due. And yeah,
And I think the question I get yesterday is like, so it's an application, right? We talked about it yesterday, and I was like, that's the way I understand it. So yep, it looks
hmm.
like they will mail you something, but keep an eye on that. You do got to mail it back.
You got to
So.
mail it back. All right.
or do it online. But anyway, okay, let's keep going. You want to talk a little
Yeah,
South America, right? Brazil soybean shipments this month have potential to be a new record. So
it's huge. Yeah, huge for them, I guess. Not the shiniest headline here for U.S. producers, but I think this was in the wire yesterday for coming out of ATI research, highlighting the past few weeks of shipments out of Brazil for soybeans, both beans and meal. But not only a new record for the month of March, but potentially for the month, any month in history of bean shipments out of Brazil. So
yeah.
they're the market. We talked about it for a while. They're going to be the market. They got a good crop coming out of there, and it's going to be a place where everybody's going to go to buy their beans for a while.
Yep. And when we talk Brazil, right? Talking about a new record, right? That's been the trend for basically the past 10 years. When you look at soybean acreage and production in Brazil the past decade, right? It's interesting where we debate, okay, what's the soybean crop look like? Is it going to be a 172, 168? Well, it doesn't matter. It's going to be a record, right? That's the takeaway, unless we see some type of USDA esque cut in yield at the end of it. But we're looking at a record, looking at soybean production in Brazil increasing year on year in Brazil. Argentina, not so much. It's kind of it's kind of staying the same. But the bushels are there, and it's a record. It's just a matter of how big is it going to get, right? That what was that soybean harvest at? Was it 80%? We talked about it Monday.
I think 70, right at 70
70.
in
Okay,
Brazil. Yeah,
yeah.
because
So
it shocked me. I was anticipating it to be bigger, but I guess yeah.
when we're and here's another one. This comes from Karen Braun, must follow on Twitter. But just
Yeah,
looking at here, flipping it over to China, right? China's ag imports uh, really puts it in perspective. Looking at wheat and corn, 97% drop year on year on
mm,
corn, 96 on wheat. We did see a little increase for soybeans year on year, which is interesting. Interesting to see. We'll hope that continues. But just amazing when you put it in chart form like that. Almost 100% drop looking at corn exports to China.
interesting. Yeah, I think their production has increased a little bit on some of those commodities, but I also saw another note from our wire within ATI that they were auctioning off some corn in state reserves, and I think it was pre 2023 corn. So maybe relying more on state reserves here now to feed their domestic demand versus importing it from other countries.
Mhm.
Interesting. That just doesn't last forever, and at some point they got to come. They'll likely come back and fill those reserves, but they seem to be very opportunistic with when they come and do that.
Right. So, hey, let's keep moving right along.
Yeah. I
Oh,
like this. I like this headline. This is one, volume limitations on Australian beef imports to the U.S. The NCBA kind of threw this out over the last few weeks here, looking at, Australia's access to U.S. market and being able to import beef into the U.S. And the U.S. is limited access to the Australian market. And if we don't square that up, they were basically pushing the administration to say, hey, let's fix this. The U.S. has a safe, high quality product, and if we got a free trade agreement with Australia, let's let it be free trade agreement, and get some market access down there for U.S. beef. And if they're not willing to play that game, let's shut them down and put some volume limitations on it. So interesting headline out there. Could be a catalyst to move the market if you shut them down, or could be a good thing down, longer term, with the longer term goal of gaining access and better access to a market that we haven't had a whole lot of access to going back. I had some stats written down, but I got no power.
Get your flashlight out.
Right. So, but I think Australia over the last 20 years has like shipped some 38 billion dollars worth of beef to the US, and the US has sent about $31 million of beef to Australia. So just a massive discrepancy on the beef trade between Australia and the US there. But there's some phytosanitary stuff where I think they only allow cooked products in versus uncooked or raw beef, which is interesting.
Yeah, interesting. But keep going on the cattle. Record feeder cattle index again.
Heck yeah. Keep it running. Monday's data was a higher print on the index, 284 something. I can't remember the exact number, but it keeps climbing higher, and great opportunities out there for cattle guys to go out there and protect those prices. Did a special premium deal on LRP yesterday and just kind of walked through quotes, what guys can look at, talk through the different classifications for LRP when it comes to your cattle market. Guys, you need to be paying attention to this. Call somebody, call your agent. If you don't have an agent, if you want to work with somebody, you can call us. We'd love to have you. Love to work with you.
Good stuff. Okay, well, I'm sure with no power, you've got some things to probably get in line, but we'll go ahead and we can go ahead and wrap
Sounds
it up.
good.
Hopefully you get power soon. Hopefully you don't have to fire the generator up, but
I'm too lazy to go out there and get it fired up. I finally got one, but I don't want to go get it and use it. What have you? You have a generator too. Does yours auto kick on though, Connor?
I bought a house with the nice Generac generator,
Sweet.
right? And I've never used it. I have not lost power in the year and a half that I've lived there. So I feel a little guilty, but when I see a storm coming through, I'm like, come on, take out some power lines. I want to see this baby work.
Yeah.
But haven't used it yet. So
well, let's hope you don't have to.
Yeah.
So. All right.
But,
Cool.
all right. Good stuff. Everyone have a great day. We'll see everyone tomorrow.